Oh, look at that. Everybody's scared, man. They were mad before. Oh, this guy's a misogynist. He's a sexist. Yeah, people were all pissed before, though. Now everybody's scared. But the reality is sexism is good, actually. It's actually good, yeah. No, it is. Sexism actually benefits women. It doesn't benefit men whatsoever. Because here's the thing with sexism and equality and egalitarianism that we kind of have right now with our progressive society. So the way it benefits women is because it basically evens the playing field, right? So what ends up happening with sexism is women are able to kind of double dip. They're able to enjoy the chivalry, the gentleman type treatment, and be a lady when it suits them, but they're also able to go ahead and enter the workforce and behave like a man and pursue that. So they're basically able to double dip, and a big part of that is from the sexism, right? Because they're able to kind of get the best of both worlds. So sexism in itself inherently benefits women, because if they actually have to compete with men, they lose. I mean, look at the you literally see them like professional athletes that are females losing to high school boys in competition. So if we had to go ahead and just go off of straight meritocracy, we would have one sports league and women would never be able to participate. Like, that's the reality, right? And I remember, where are you from, bro? How old are you?
I'm from Fort Mill, South Carolina. I'm 19.
Okay.
Yeah. So you said, like, going into a relationship or dating with a woman, not expecting sex is like cope. What is?
Yeah,
what is
a lot of guys tell themselves that when they're in the friend zone. Like, a guy will sit there for like 3 or 4 years talking to this girl, wanting more. He knows he's stuck in the friend zone, but he just kind of sits there and be like, no, I'm just going to be a good friend. I'm going to sit around. Like, I'm just going to be here.
At that point, it's a matter of self-respect, though. Like, if you know you're not getting what you want out of a relationship, why not walk away? But if you do want a friendship for that person,
I agree.
Because women do have value outside of just sex.
No,
then,
I agree with you on that. But the problem is that most guys can't identify when they're being friend zoned. Is my point.
It's easy to identify, though. If the relationship not going where you want it to go, then you can walk away.
You got to understand that a lot of guys are socially retarded and not able to understand when a woman isn't that into them. I'm sure every woman in here has been hit on by a guy that made her feel uncomfortable, and he just simply didn't get it. And there's a reason for that. Women, the one compliment I will give women is they're socially superior to men. They're able to pick up on things quicker. They're able to read the room better. They're able to assess danger. And the reason for that is because they're the weaker gender physically, right? So since they can't make up for it with strength and brutality, if a dude's a little off, he's like ticking like this, or he's a weirdo, women pick up on that immediately and like, okay, danger zone, let me get out of here. So that's why a lot of guys are kind of idiotic when it comes to this stuff, and they can't take the signs.
So correct me if I'm wrong,
Sure.
But is it that women deserve less or men need to know more?
Combination of the two. Men need to understand their value, because that is actually, that's the biggest weapon when it comes to dating and intersexual dynamics, is a lot of guys don't understand how much value they're bringing to the table versus the woman. A lot of the times, men chronically undervalue themselves while women simultaneously overvalue themselves. If you ask an average girl, hey, what kind of guy do you want? They're going to tell you 6 figures, 6 feet, 6-pack, good looking, good with dogs, asshole that could put me in my place, but at the same time is a nice guy. Like, they're looking for the top 1% guy, but the reality is they're very average. So I think men need to understand that not only do you have to, the burden of performance is on you and you have to be attractive, but you also need to understand that you need to be superior to your girl in every way. Because women don't look for equals despite the fact that they say they do. That's a lie.
You got anything to say?
They look for a superior. They don't look for an equal, ever. So by me giving her less, I'm actually giving her what she wants. Surprisingly.
I wouldn't say that's like giving less, though. And when you say women deserve less, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, they do. And the thing is that you have to make them earn everything. Because when guys come in, they start simping immediately. They start giving her money, time, attention, all this stuff. She takes that for granted. She doesn't respect it. And if she doesn't respect it, she's not going to respect you.
Okay, let's
and here's the other thing, too. Since women have so many options, and this has been exacerbated by social media, by the way. Like, this has always been a problem, but in 2025, with the explosion of social media, it's gotten even worse.
Yeah, I think, isn't that just like a generalization, though? Because I feel like it's case specific with every person. Like, when you say that, it's like you matching one archetype of men with another archetype of women, and then you making that the case for everybody.
Well, I think the world operates on generalities, right? There's a reason why Braille isn't everywhere because there's not that many blind people, right? So, in general, being a nice guy is going to set you back. Now, are there some girls out there that are, will reward you and give you sex and a blowjob for being a nice guy? Sure. But the reality is being a nice guy typically always puts you on your back foot. And I think in today's day and age where women have an enormous amount of leverage in the dating marketplace, guys need to kind of go in there with their eyes wide open so they don't put themselves in a bad situation. So generalizations are typically how the world works. Of course, there's always going to be anomalies. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But I think in general, men need to operate from a position where they're mitigating risk and not investing too much up front. Because we have way more on the line than women do when we get in relationships. So I could come into that after.
It's my work.
What's up, bro?
I seen some of your podcasts and stuff like that. I haven't watched the full thing, but I really just want to know, like, why do you think women deserve less? Because it's like a controversial. Obviously, it's going to catch people's attention.
Sure.
They see it. And
Sure. When I say women deserve less, it's for a multitude of different reasons, but I'll just focus on, like, let's say dating for now, right? So guys have this, warped ideology that being a gentleman and being super nice and, being caring makes you more attractive to women. But the reality is, attraction and arousal are two different things. And by being a nice guy, what ends up happening a lot of times is you get stuck in the friend zone. And what I tell guys, and I talk about this in my book, guys got to give women less. If you look at the cover, I have money there, relationships, social media, and time. And the reason for that is because we live in a deregulated sexual marketplace. And what that basically means is, assuming two parties have the age of consent, anyone could hook up. Now, we thought this would be a good idea in the 60s with the explosion of feminism and birth control, etc. But what ended up happening was when you leave women to their own devices, they date the best guys that they can get. And that problem's been exacerbated as they become more educated and made more money. So it's left a lot of normal guys out of the realm. So what I tell guys is you need a woman that's going to reciprocate that attention, because we're in a position now where they have all the leverage, and a lot of guys are over here courting and dealing with women that quite frankly don't deserve it. So when I say women deserve less, there's other aspects too, but that's what I mean, as in, like, dating. Don't simp on women that already get everything given to them.
Dex, do you think that's the end goal of a relationship? Like, where do you view that?
Well, it's the main agency that women have.
What if you don't give them that agency, though? If you have, like, different priorities, generally, like...
The man or the woman?
The man.
Okay, what do you mean by that? If you can kind of...
Like, if you don't go into a relationship just expecting to get that out of it, then there's really no leverage there if that's not something you really want out of that person.
Well, a lot of the time that's cope, right? So, like, guys will sit there and they'll be taking a girl on her seventh date. They've been talking for like 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, and they'll sit there and cope, be like, oh, no, like, I'm just building something up. But the reality is she's fucking some other guy, right? And the reality is that men need to understand that women, right, they sell purity, they sell sugar and spice and everything nice, but what will happen is they'll open themselves up sexually to the men that they respect and are aroused by, and then make the nice guy wait, right? And they're able to kind of double dip doing that. So I think with guys, they got to basically push for sex fairly quickly in a relationship to ensure that they're not getting used.
I think
because that is their main. I mean, just let's be honest here. Like, that is their main commodity, their main agency. Like, if women didn't have vaginas, we wouldn't care. No one would talk to them.
I wouldn't say that, because that's like half the population. You just, like, dehumanizing half the population with that statement.
I mean, well, it's the reality. We're put on Earth to procreate, correct? So men, our job is to provide resources. Their job is to extract resources, and it's been this way since the beginning of time. The only reason we're able to have this whole, moral situation is because of modernity and the access to technology and how we progressed. But the reality is, in times of when times are not peaceful, we get closer and closer to our traditional gender roles, right? There is no feminism when the lights are off. There is no feminism with war. There is no feminism when it comes to preserving society and moving on forward. So, the reality is that that's why the genders deal with each other. Men provide resources, women provide access to sex.
I'm gonna come back.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, thank you for coming up, though, man. It's brave to do that. So, shout out to you. And you when you come back up, say your name. Hi.
Hey, so I really think your ideology is interesting. How do I apply it to my lesbian relationships?
Okay.